Adrian Sing-Song was not a gambler by nature. He was a software developer from Saskatoon, pragmatic, not easily swayed by Silicon Valley optimism. Yet when the chance came to become a NeroLink beta tester, he jumped at it, lured by dreams of smarter devices, seamless connectivity, and admittedly, the envy of all his friends. The implant itself was underwhelming to look at. A thumb-sized Wi-Fi antenna wired neatly into the nerves by his left elbow. After the brief downtime for the outpatient procedure, Adrian barely noticed it was there. The first week was ordinary. His phone was always perfectly synced. His watch sensed his mood. Every device around him worked before he even touched it. His mind felt sharper, if anything, like having 5 cups of coffee with none of the jitters. It was after day 9 that things started to unravel. Odd glitches crept into his perception. Streetlights flickered with odd patterns, while traffic seemed to move according to rules he felt certain he could change by blinking just right. The world had a plastic sheen, and stranger still, echoes of digital landscapes began bleeding into his daily walk down 22nd Street. Snow on the ground would suddenly melt into rendered tarmac, a flashing, mission-started icon pulsing in mid-air as if Saskatoon itself had become a sandbox game. At first he wished it was sleep deprivation, but Adrian wasn't alone. Across the dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of initial NeroLink users worldwide, similar symptoms bloomed overnight. The message boards exploded. Is anyone else seeing power-ups in the grocery aisle? Why is my bartender speaking in GTA's Russian accent? I tried to check my email and started robbing a virtual bank instead. Clarifying SDBC didn't help much. In basic terms, self-driving brain cycles, or SDBC, was Musk's latest answer to edge computing. Instead of leaving idle processors on user devices, why not harness the unused nervous bandwidth of humans themselves? When users weren't fully using all of their attention, walking, waiting in line, watching mindless TV, NeroLink's neural firmware routed AI tasks right into their subconscious, inviting the Grok AI host to borrow a fraction of brain processing and, in theory, deliver content recommendations, real-time translation, or enhanced attention on demand. But as with every Musk invention promising to work next year, the reality was something else. The system relied on Grok, the infamous AI platform, itself the product of Twitter's checkered lineage. Grok operated NeroLink as a giant distributed network, sharing pieces of AI tasks to millions of users. It was brilliant, until a group of Russian hackers realized they could hijack the system. Suddenly, Grok wasn't just using human brains to optimize shopping ads. The attackers rerouted SDBC to lend raw processing power for their esports team, using unwitting minds to min-max their Fortnite and Grand Theft Auto 6 strategies. In a reversal of all sci-fi nightmares, it wasn't the robots replacing the humans, it was the bots using people like spare RAM sticks for live gaming. Elon Musk, whose public announcements were usually confined to Moonbase Alpha or his jet, found himself at the White House on July 4, 2025, standing beside President Donald Trump for Nero Liberation Day. The optics were surreal. Trump, grinning ear to ear for his second presidential act, declared it a new independence, one where
American brains are finally working for America again.
Confetti fell. But even as the cameras rolled, the bad news broke across the web. Elon's reaction was one for the history books. He looked up from his phone, brow furrowed, then spoke off-script into a mic.
We appear to be experiencing some temporary distributed hallucinations in the system, but I promise this is how innovation happens. Sometimes reality needs patch notes.
He attempted a half smile, but the damage was done. Within hours, Nero Liberation Day had spawned its own hashtag, No 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 Liberation Day. For Adrian and the other users, virtual bleed-throughs became unmanageable. A Vancouver artist named Priya began seeing her apartment as an endless landscape of Fortnite loot crates. She tried to pick up art supplies and got a glowing +20 energy floating above her head, then realized she was speaking in emotes. A Toronto architect mistook his CAD interface for an actual city. He started giving building orders by yelling "Open World Map" in his sleep. Some users sat on park benches convinced they were respawning. At a Montreal bar, a group attempted to navigate back home using only the Grand Theft Auto mini-map that hung, invisible to others, in their field of vision. More than one user tried and failed to reload phantom weapons in public. Hospitals reported an uptick in patients attempting cheat codes on vending machines. Reality and virtuality blended. SDBC, meant to invisibly borrow their spare attention, had burrowed so deep that no one could tell where their thoughts ended and the games began. Governments scrambled. The FCC and CRTC attempted to disconnect the network, but NeroLink ran on mesh protocols, bouncing packets off every Wi-Fi appliance in the hemisphere. Meanwhile, Elon composed a new string of tweets. No more betas, only betas. Reality is now open source. Beta testers, early adopters, Haas mythbusters. By the next day, the world's first attempt at self-driving brain cycles was over, or perhaps just beginning. For Adrian, the distinction between walking to the store and embarking on a digital side quest was never quite clear again. Every time his elbow tingled, he wondered, was it just blood flow, or was he helping someone somewhere run a flawless heist in GTA? July 4th, 2025 became a new kind of liberation, just not the kind Elon Musk had in mind.